Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are starting with a story that I think is going to send a shiver down the spine of anyone who has ever worked in a modern office. It is the story of a man named James Harper.
Sounds like the start of a thriller.
It is a thriller, but of the most, the most mundane and terrifying kind. James runs a boutique financial advisory firm in Cape Town. Successful guy, smart guy.
Right.
He wears tailored suits. His office is immaculate. And last Tuesday, he gets a request from a prospective client, a big one,
Okay.
a whale, as they say in the industry. They want to see the Q3 2024 performance report.
A standard request. That should be a 30-second task. Click and send.
Completely standard. And James knows he created this report. He remembers sitting there, typing it out, saving it. He remembers the font he used. He even remembers the coffee he was drinking. So he goes to find it.
And let me guess. It's not where it's supposed to be.
It is absolutely nowhere. And the clock is ticking. He types Q3 into the search bar, spinning wheel of death. He types performance. 300 results pop up. Oh, no. He ends up spending 37 minutes. He is combing through 3 different cloud storage platforms. You've got Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive.
The usual suspects.
Usual suspects. He's digging through 6 different email threads. He's checking 2 local drives on his own hard drive. He's starting to sweat. And finally, after nearly 40 minutes of pure panic, he finds it.
Okay, so where was it hiding?
It was buried in a folder on his desktop, nested 3 layers deep, and the folder was labeled temp_oldie_2.
Templed 2. I think we have all been there. It's the graveyard of good intentions.
We have all been there. But here is the kicker, and this is the really tragic part of this thriller. By the time he found it and sent it over, the moment had passed.
Window closed.
The window slammed shut. The client replied 10 minutes later saying, "Thanks, James, but we've decided to go in another direction. We need agility," and this process felt sluggish. He lost the client.
That is just painful. So painful.
It is. And my initial reaction when I read this was, wow, James really needs to get his act together. But then I looked at the research we have in front of us today, and I realized James isn't just one disorganized guy. This isn't just bad luck.
Right.
This is what you might call a cognitive tax problem. And it is quietly bankrupting businesses all over the world.
Absolutely. James is not an outlier.
Yeah.
In fact, for small and medium enterprises, SMEs, this is the new normal.
Yeah.
We are dealing with a level of digital entropy that is, well, it's unprecedented.
Digital entropy. I like that term. It sounds ominous.
It is ominous. I mean, in physics, entropy is the natural tendency for a system to decline into disorder. It takes constant energy just to maintain order.
Right.
And in the digital world, it's exactly the same thing. You start a business with 10 files. Easy. 5 years later, you have 10,000 files, 3 employees, 4 cloud platforms. The natural state of that system is total chaos.
And that's what we're digging into today.
Exactly. We are diving deep into digital filing productivity. But we aren't just admiring the problem. We are looking at a very specific ecosystem that claims to have a solution. We're looking at a South African managed agency called VA Connect.
And that's pronounced VA Connect, saying the letters.
Correct, VA Connect. And we're going to be looking at their internal reports, their case studies, and their pretty impressive training systems like VA Varsity.
That's VA Varsity.
To understand how businesses can move from what they call digital rubble, which is where James Harper was living, to retrieval paradise.
I want to live in retrieval paradise. That sounds amazing.
We all do. And we're also going to explore why the typical solutions that people try, like going to freelance marketplaces, might actually be like pouring gasoline on the fire.
Right.
And we'll look at how this agency, VA Connect, applies what they call ship captain logic to business administration.
I love that angle, the ship captain. We will definitely get to that. But first, let's just unpack this idea of the hidden economics of digital entropy. Because I think most people assume, oh, I spend 5 minutes looking for a file. It's no big deal. But the data says something very different.
The data is staggering. It really is. The research cited in our source material shows that the average employee wastes 1.8 hours every single day hunting for information they know exists.
1.8 hours? Hold on. That's nearly 2 hours. I have to push back on that a little. Are they really sitting there for 2 solid hours just staring at a search bar?
It's rarely a solid block of time, which is actually what makes it more insidious. It's fragmented. It's 10 minutes here looking for the latest company logo. It's 20 minutes there trying to figure out which version of the contract was the one that was actually signed.
Cross-referencing emails to see if final is actually final or if final V2 is final.
Exactly. And it all adds up to, roughly 23% of every workday, a quarter of your day.
That is a massive chunk of productivity. Okay, let's break that down into cash because that's where it really hurts. If I am paying someone, say, £40,000 annually.
Right, a pretty standard junior executive salary in the UK.
So if they are wasting 23% of their time, I am functionally taking £9,200 of that salary and just throwing it into a furnace. I am paying nearly 10 grand a year for digital archaeology.
That's a great way to put it. Digital archaeology.
Yeah.
And that's just one person. If you run a small team, maybe 5 people, you are burning £46,000 a year.
£46,000. That's an entire extra salary.
It is. You can hire a whole new person with the money you are wasting just trying to find things that you already have.
That is just horrifying. But it's not just the money. I feel like there is a mental toll to this whole thing. When I can't find something I know I saved, I physically feel my blood pressure go up.
You're spot on. It's called cognitive load. There was a fascinating study published in Computers and Human Behavior that looked at this exact thing. They found that digital clutter triggers genuine anxiety.
I believe it.
It reduces your decision-making capacity. The term they use is emotional and cognitive overload.
So James Harper wasn't just losing a client. He was probably suffering a minor physiological breakdown during those 37 minutes.
Exactly. When you can't find a file, your brain opens what they call a loop. It's an unresolved task. It literally drains glucose from your brain. It makes you dumber for the next task you have to do.
Wow. And it gets even worse than that. There's a 2022 study in the journal Computers and Security that found these uncontrollable data stacks directly lead to security breaches.
And this is the part that keeps IT directors and compliance officers awake at night.
How so? I mean, how does a messy desktop actually lead to a hack?
Well, just think about the path of least resistance. If you can't find the secure folder on the company's server because the file structure is a complete nightmare, what do?
I find a workaround. I have to get the job done.
Exactly. So you save it to your desktop. Or even worse, you email it to your personal Gmail account so you can find it later when you're working from home.
Shadow IT.
Precisely. The moment that sensitive client list or that confidential report hits your personal Gmail, all your enterprise security protocols are gone. They're useless. You have created a vulnerability solely because the official system was too hard to use.
So it really is an existential threat masquerading as a minor annoyance.
That's the perfect way to describe it.
Okay, so if this is such a huge disaster, why don't companies just fix it? Why is it so hard for SMEs to just get organized?
It's because of something called the digital complexity spiral.
The spiral, okay.
Think about the last 10 years of business. Companies used to just have a file server, maybe email, that was it.
Simple times?
Very simple. Now they have a CRM like Salesforce, they have Dropbox, they have Slack, they have Google Drive, they have project management tools like Trello or Asana.
And every single one of those has its own file storage system.
Exactly. Each new tool fragments the information architecture further. You don't have one filing cabinet anymore. You have 5 cabinets in 5 different buildings, and none of them talk to each other.
And that's before you even get to the human element.
Right. Then you have the human element. Hoarding behavior.
Oh, I am so guilty of this. I might need this later.
It's a real psychological phenomenon called anticipated regret. And because digital storage costs are so low now, and it costs basically nothing to keep a gigabyte of data,
Yeah.
people never ever delete anything.
So we all become digital hoarders. Our hard drives are like those houses on TV you can't walk through.
And because there are no company-wide protocols, every single employee becomes their own file management island. You organize things by date, I organize things by client name, and someone else organizes things by, well, Temple D2.
And when we try to collaborate, those islands don't connect. It's like everyone's speaking a different language.
And the cost of trying to bridge those islands is task switching. There's an incredible research from Stanford that shows that jumping between these platforms, checking Slack, then looking in Drive, then searching your email, can reduce your productivity by up to 40%.
40%.
And it temporarily lowers your effective IQ.
So we are literally making ourselves poorer and dumber.
Effectively, yes.
As
That's
in
what the data suggests.
Okay, so the problem is real. The problem is expensive. The problem is making us crazy. Now, usually when a business owner finally realizes this, they have a knee-jerk reaction. They go, I need help. I'm going to go to Upwork. I'm going to go to Fiverr. I'm going to hire a freelancer for a few $100 to clean all this up.
It's the logical first step for so many people. I'll just get someone cheap to sort it out.
But looking at our sources, specifically the analysis from VA Connect, this seems to be, well, their term for it is pouring gasoline on the flames. So why is hiring a random freelancer for this such a bad idea?
It really boils down to two things: structure and context. Let's talk about the vetting process first. If you go to a site like Upwork, who is responsible for the vetting,
I am the business owner.
you are. You have to read through dozens of proposals, check portfolios, maybe run a little test project. And the source notes that Upwork has a 2.3-star average review on SiteJabber when it comes to quality consistency. It's a total gamble.
You're rolling the dice. You might get a genius, or you might get someone who just ghosts you after 2 weeks.
Exactly. But the bigger, more fundamental issue is what they call the vacuum effect. Even if you find a great freelancer or a really smart and organized person, they don't know your business. They operate in a vacuum.
Right.
They don't know that the Smith project from 2022 is actually directly related to the Jones project from 2023.
They lack the institutional memory. They don't have the story.
They don't have the story. So what do? They create a filing structure based on their logic. Oh, I'll organize all this by file type. All the PDFs go here. All the Word docs go there.
Which looks really tidy on the surface. Very clean.
Very clean. But does your business actually work that way? Almost certainly not. You work by project or by client or by quarter. So they build a house that looks very nice from the outside, but you can't actually live in it. The rooms are all in the wrong place.
And then you have what the source calls the orphan system problem.
This is the killer. Freelance turnover is notoriously high. What happens when that freelancer gets a full-time job or just decides to move on and they disappear?
I'm left with a system that I didn't build and I don't really understand.
And you are right back to square one. But now there's a new layer of confusion on top of the old chaos.
Yeah.
And we haven't even touched on the security aspect.
Yeah, that part of the report really scared me. The idea of handing over Google Drive access to a complete stranger.
A stranger on the internet. There are no guaranteed NDAs that are actually enforceable across international borders. There are no GDPR compliance checks.
Right.
And very often, they are downloading your files to their personal laptop to work on them more easily.
So my most sensitive client data is just sitting on some freelancer's laptop in a coffee shop somewhere right next to their vacation photos.
Precisely. It is a security and compliance nightmare just waiting to happen.
Okay, so the do-it-yourself approach fails because we're too busy. The freelance marketplace approach is risky and often ineffective. So this brings us to the core of our deep dive today, the managed model, and specifically VA Connect.
VA Connect.
Right, VA Connect. They position themselves as Africa's largest managed virtual assistant agency. They've been around since 2008, founded by Karen Wessels. But what makes them different? If they aren't a marketplace like Upwork, what are they?
They are a B2B service,
Yeah.
a business-to-business service. That is the fundamental distinction. You're not hiring a person. You are hiring a company.
So my contract is with VA Connect, the agency, not with Steve, the virtual assistant.
Correct. And that simple fact changes the entire architecture of the relationship. Their core philosophy, the thing they build everything on, is systems and processes.
Okay, let's unpack that. What does a standardized protocol actually look like for something as messy as filing?
It means their VAs don't just use their personal preferences or make it up as they go along. They use agency-wide, non-negotiable best practices. They have consistent naming conventions.
So instead of final through euthethosone, there is a standard way to label a document version.
Exactly. It's usually something logical, like client project type version date. It just eliminates all the ambiguity.
I see.
And this applies to the security infrastructure, too. They use specific cloud systems, like Bittrex 24.
Bittrex 24.
Yes. And what that means is files aren't being stored on the VA's local computer. They live in a managed, secure cloud environment. So if that VA's laptop gets stolen from their car, your data isn't on it.
Okay, so that solves the scattered personal storage risk we talked about.
It completely eliminates it.
But what about the orphan system problem? What if my amazing VA from VA Connect wins the lottery and quits to go sail around the world?
This is really where the agency model shines, because the protocols are standardized, and because all the documentation about your system is held by the agency, they have the institutional memory. They offer what they call a free handover and training service.
So if my VA leaves, a new one just steps in and they already know the system.
They know the system because it's the agency system. They don't have to spend weeks trying to decipher a stranger's weird logic. The continuity is built right into the model.
That is a genuine game changer. It makes the whole business feel less fragile, less dependent on one person.
Managed continuity is the term they use.
Yeah.
It turns a chaotic variable, a person, into a stable, predictable constant.
Now, I have to play devil's advocate here again. We're talking about filing, sorting, organizing. It is 2026. Why not just use AI for this? I mean, I can upload 1,000 files to an AI tool and just say, sort this. Why do I need a human being from VA Connect to do it?
That is the billion-dollar question right now, isn't it? And the source material has a really interesting and I think very insightful answer. AI sees metadata. Humans see narrative.
Narrative. Okay, explain that to me.
Okay, so imagine you have three files. One is called market analysis Q1, one is sales targets Q2, and the third is client presentation Q2. And AI looks at those and says, okay, this is an Excel sheet, this is a PDF, and this is a PowerPoint. I will put them in folders organized by file type.
Right. It organizes by what the file is, its technical property.
Exactly. But a human who has been briefed on your business, sees the story. They understand that the market analysis from Q1 informed the sales targets for Q2, which were then used to build the client presentation for Q2.
So they group them together.
They'd group them all together in a folder called something like Project Goal, Q2 Expansion. Because that is how you, the business owner, are going to look for them. You're not going to think, where is that PDF from April? You're going to think, where is all this stuff for the Q2 expansion project?
That makes perfect sense. The context is everything.
Context is everything. And a human VA can ask you questions. Hey, I see 3 draft versions of this report. Do you still need these, or can we archive them? And AI cannot judge intent. It can't judge what's valuable trash and what's just trash. If you just let an AI loose on your Google Drive, it might hallucinate a filing structure that makes absolutely no sense to a human brain.
So the human edge is understanding the why, not just the what. This brings us to how VA Connect actually creates these humans who are so good at this. Because they aren't just hiring people off the street. They have this internal system called VA Varsity.
VA Varsity.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. It's essentially their own proprietary Udemy-style online learning platform built just for their internal team.
That's a serious investment.
It's huge, and it creates a baseline of competence that's just guaranteed.
Yeah.
A client doesn't have to spend a week teaching their new VA how to use Google Drive or how to perform a mail merge in Outlook. They arrive fully trained on the tools.
But it's more than just software skills.
Oh, much more. They focus heavily on soft skills, which are often the hardest skills to find and train.
Like what?
Proactive communication, critical thinking, time management. And VA Varsity continuously upskills them. So as the tech landscape changes and new tools come out, the VAs are trained on them without you, the client, having to pay a penny for their training.
And there's another program mentioned here that I found really intriguing. It's called Atomic Energy. It sounds like a superhero power, but it's actually a wellness initiative.
It is. It's a comprehensive one, too. It offers diet plans, exercise programs, mental mobility coaching, things like that.
So why, I mean, it's a nice perk, but why is a business administration agency worried about whether their VAs are eating their vegetables?
Well, think about the churn problem we discussed with freelancers. Why do freelancers quit? Why do employees in any industry burn out?
Stress, exhaustion, feeling undervalued, sitting at a desk for 12 hours a day.
Exactly. And burnout leads to turnover. And turnover leads to the loss of that precious institutional memory. So by keeping the VAs healthy and happy, they also have another program called VPI, the two-way happiness program. They are strategically protecting your business continuity.
So it's not just some fluffy HR initiative. It's a core stability strategy.
It's a retention strategy. The source material mentions they maintain a 98% retention rate over a 14-month period. In the world of remote work and virtual assistants, that is an almost unbelievable number.
That is incredibly high. And that attitude of gratitude culture they talk about seems to really pay dividends for the client in the end.
It does. A happy, healthy VA is a consistent, reliable VA.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about geography. VA Connect is based in South Africa.
Yes, primarily.
Now, for a listener in the UK or the US, they might hear that and immediately ask, why South Africa? Is it just because it's cheaper?
Well, the cost is definitely a compelling factor, and we'll get to that. But the expert analysis in the sources calls this a global efficiency arbitrage. It's not just about cost. It's about the quality you get for that cost.
Quality arbitrage. I like that.
First, just look at the practicalities like time zones. South Africa is aligned almost perfectly with Europe and the UK.
Right. It's basically the same time zone, maybe an hour or two difference depending on the time of year.
And there's still significant overlap with the US East Coast. So you can have real-time collaboration. It's not like outsourcing to somewhere with a 12-hour time difference where you send an email and have to wait a whole day for a simple reply.
That is huge for agility. It kills the momentum when you have that kind of lag.
Then there's the language. It's a neutral English accent. For many of the professionals they hire, English is a first language,
And the source also mentions the British colonial legacy.
which, in a purely business context, creates a deep familiarity with Western business practices. The legal systems, the accounting principles, the general office culture. It's very, very similar to the UK and the US. You don't have to explain the concept of a VAT invoice or how a typical board meeting runs.
So there's much less cultural friction to overcome.
Much less. And the work ethic is described consistently across the sources as world-class.
And then, of course, there is the cost.
The cost is the amplifier. It's what makes the quality so attractive. You are getting what they call executive-level support people, who in their previous careers might have been office managers or project leads, for the price of very basic admin support in the West.
The numbers mentioned were starting around £350 plus VAT per 10 hours monthly in the UK.
Right. Or, in U.S. terms, roughly $10 to $30 an hour, depending on the complexity of the role.
And if we're talking about the local South African currency, the rand, the source, mentions keeping that in mind. For instance, if you see a figure like 12,000 rand, that's the local context. But for the global client, the value proposition is getting a $50 an hour output for a $20 an hour price tag.
Exactly. That is the arbitrage. You are buying high-value capability at a significant discount.
Okay, so we have the why, we have the who. Now I really want to talk about the how, because I think a lot of people listening might be thinking, okay, I'm sold on the idea, but my files are a complete disaster zone. I am embarrassed to even let another human being look at them.
The digital shame. It's a very real thing. It's like feeling you need to clean your house before the professional cleaner arrives.
Exactly. So how does VA Connect actually fix it? What does that implementation process look like for a new client?
They use what they call a strategy-first implementation. It's a structured 90-day process. It's not a magic wand. It's a methodical, structured intervention.
Okay, so walk us through the 90 days. What happens?
Weeks 1 and 2 are all about discovery. This part is crucial. They don't just assign you a random person from a list. They have a detailed intake form, a video interview with you. They match you with a VA based on work culture, not just on skills.
So if I run a fast-paced, slightly chaotic creative agency, they're not going to give me someone who needs a very rigid corporate structure.
Exactly. And you get to interview the candidate before you commit. You have to feel like you can vibe with them.
Okay, so I pick my VA, we vibe, then what happens?
Weeks 3 and 4 are the audit. The VA doesn't even touch your files yet. First, they just map the existing information flows. Where do files originate? Who needs to access what? Where are the current bottlenecks?
So they act like a business process consultant before they act like an admin assistant?
Correct. They have to understand the why before they change the what. Then, months 2 and 3 are implementation. This is the heavy lifting. This is the migrating of files, restructuring folders, renaming thousands of documents according to that protocol we discussed.
And then from month 4 and beyond.
That's maintenance, regular hygiene checks, making sure that Temple 2 doesn't creep back into existence.
I love that idea of file hygiene. It's like brushing your teeth. It's not a one-time fix. It's a daily practice.
Or at least you pay someone to ensure it's done every day so you don't have to think about it.
There is a case study in the notes that really just blew my mind. The Johannesburg Marketing Agency.
Yes, this is a perfect example of the transformation in action.
So talk us through it. The before picture was 15 people, 3 different cloud platforms.
Total chaos.
And they were wasting over 2 hours a day per person.
But here's the stat that really stood out to me from the audit. The VA found 47,000 files.
47,000, that's a lot.
And 23% of them were duplicates.
Wow, that is almost 11,000 completely useless files just clogging up the system.
Can you imagine the search results? You search for client contract and you get 12 results, all with slightly different names. Which one is the right one? You have to open every single one to check. It's madness.
It's a total nightmare. So what did the VA do? What was the fix?
They unified everything into a single Google workspace, one source of truth. Then they implemented that strict logical naming convention, client project type version date.
Simple, logical, predictable.
In the result, the average daily search time across the company dropped from 2.1 hours to just 22 minutes.
From over 2 hours to 22 minutes. That's getting your life back. That's getting home for dinner on time.
And they reported 0 lost files since the implementation.
And the ROI. The return on investment.
They calculated a 3,275% ROI based purely on the recovered productivity hours.
3,000%. That sounds like a made-up number.
It sounds completely absurd, but when you actually look at the math, it holds up. It simply represents fixing something that was costing the business hundreds of thousands of rand or tens of thousands of pounds in hidden, silent inefficiency.
Let's stay on the financials for a second, because VA Connect has broken this down for a typical SME.
Right. Let's look at their financial calculus. So you take a typical 10-person SME. Based on that 1.8 hours per day metric of wasted time, they are losing 97,355 annually in lost productivity.
Almost 100,000 pounds. Just gone.
Yeah.
Vanish into thin air.
Now, you compare that to the investment. A VA from VA Connect, maybe doing 20 hours a month to keep everything organized and maintained, costs around 6,000 pounds a year.
So you spend 6,000 to save nearly 100,000.
The net benefit is over 42,000 pounds annually in the very first year alone. It's a 711% ROI.
It's a no-brainer. It's not even a difficult decision at that point.
It really isn't. It's like finding free money in your sofa cushions if your sofa cushions happen to be stuffed with gold bars.
And VA Connect isn't just about filing, is it? The sources mention these growth accelerator packages.
Yes, because once you have the foundation, the organization, the filing sorted out, then you can actually scale. You have a platform for growth. So they offer marketing assistants, sales assistants, what they call SDRs, or sales development reps, project managers, even software engineers.
And they have these tiered packages. The Forge, the Summit, the ACAX.
The Forge is 40 hours a week. That's a full-time dedicated staff member for $4,380 a month.
The Summit is 60 hours a month, and the ATAX is 100 hours. I mean, that's not hiring a person. That's hiring a department.
And for businesses that want to start smaller, they have starter packages for specific roles, like marketing or sales, that start at around $1,038 a month for 10 hours a week.
So you can really dip your toe in the water before you commit to a full-time role.
Exactly. It's very scalable.
I want to circle back just for a moment to the person behind all of this, the founder, Karen Wessels. The source material mentions she's a former ship's captain.
Yes.
That explains so much.
It really does, doesn't it? If you think about a ship out at sea, there is zero room for Temple D2.
If you lose a critical file on a ship, you might literally hit an iceberg.
Or if you don't follow the protocol exactly, the engine breaks or someone gets seriously hurt. A ship requires strict, non-negotiable systems and processes just to survive. The ocean is chaos. The ship must be a fortress of order.
And she's basically applied that same maritime rigor to the chaos of modern business administration.
Systems and processes. That is the mantra that comes through in all the source material. And in doing so, she's turned virtual assistants from a gig, something you do in between jobs, into a genuine, respected career path in South Africa.
That's a powerful vision. It elevates the whole industry.
It does. It fundamentally changes the dynamic from hiring a helper to engaging a professional service.
So where does this all leave us? We've gone from the pure horror of James Harper losing his biggest client to the high seas of organized efficiency.
I think the key takeaway for me is the shift in mindset that's required. You have to stop thinking about this as hiring a helper to clean up your mess. You need to start thinking of it as building infrastructure.
Infrastructure, like building the roads and bridges for your company's data to travel on?
Exactly. And understanding the critical difference between marketplace chaos, the Upwork roulette wheel, and managed continuity.
And of course, the role that South African talent is playing in that global business efficiency equation.
It's a huge strategic resource that a lot of smart businesses are just now starting to tap into.
So what does this all mean for the listener right now? The person sitting in their car or at their desk, probably thinking about their own messy desktop.
If we try to connect this to the bigger picture, file organization is a competitive moat.
A moat, like a castle.
Exactly. In a world where every business is trying to be faster and more agile, the company that can retrieve their client history instantly wins the contract. The company that has to search for it for 37 minutes, like James Harper, loses.
It's a velocity tax.
It is a velocity tax.
Yes.
If you don't solve this problem, you are choosing to pay a tax on your speed every single minute of every single day.
And my final thought is this. If you aren't actively managing your digital files, you are volunteering to operate at 25% reduced capacity permanently. You are volunteering to be slower, less effective, and frankly, dumber than you actually are.
That is a very sobering thought.
So here's the challenge for you listening. Stop searching through Temple D2. Stop telling yourself that you'll get around to organizing it someday.
Because someday never comes.
Consider if your business needs a captain for its digital ship. Whether that's a service like VA Connect or just a serious internal commitment to systems, you have to stop the bleeding. You have to fix the foundation.
Absolutely.
That's it for this deep dive. Go organize something. We'll see you next time.